I just don't know why people have to be so crazy. You know, I mean, it's like the more money you have, the more trouble you can get in.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, I'm Bryce Rivers. Wait a second. Am I Bryce Rivers or Bruce Rivers? What? Where did it go? I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer, beardless. Now you can see how fat my face really is. And by the way, you know, what I do here at this desk does hide my gut, and I need to lose probably 30 pounds. So just so everybody is clear, I'm not trying to hide anything, especially my face. But you know what? This feels really good. And it may come back. I don't know. I just thought I'd go a little crazy and grow a face instead of a beard. All right, before we get started today on Criminal Lawyer Reacts with our content genius behind the helm, Mr. Michael Rivers, we're going to react today to Sean P. Diddle Combs and his new allegations that came out. And we're going to go through the complaint and what the allegations are. Before we get to our reaction of P. Diddler, we're gonna react to the new complaint by Rodney Jones. We're gonna talk a little bit about the past little things that he's gone through, and But before we go to that, this is brought to you by what? By eForms.com. eForms.com is a very effective way to avoid expensive and boisterous and well-dressed attorneys like me. And what does that mean? eForms.com. You go to eForms.com if you need a power of attorney, you need any kind of agreement. My grandmother just rented out the basement to a bunch of her friends. I didn't even know about it, but she went to eForms.com, and she got an agreement. Now I'm making $5,000 a month just on my basement with all my grandma's buddies downstairs. Not true, actually. My grandma's dead. but in any event, eForms.com is an effective way to get a legal form that protects you in any kind of business endeavor, whether it be a power of attorney, whether it be rental agreement, business agreement, bill of sale, any kind of agreement that they have online. It will protect you in a court of law, and it's cheap. You don't have to hire a guy like me. And I would just charge you a ton of money, and you can go to eForms.com and get it for pennies on the dollar. eForms.com. It's an excellent way to do it. So before we get to the P. Diddler, I'm gonna talk about what these people have done here. So Mike Carter, 850 area code, what a great guy. He sends me this book. I've been a subscriber when you first started with only 1,000 followers, and have enjoyed watching your channel grow to now almost 1 million. It's over 1 million, buddy. In some ways, it seems like just yesterday. My aging body reminds me otherwise. I've always heard that if someone wants a student to learn to make the subject matter interesting and enjoyable, and you and your son have definitely made that saying true, as I have learned so much from watching your videos while getting a good laugh, to help relive a stressful day to boot. I don't have to tell you how blessed you are to have this time with Michael, which I agree, doing something both of you seem to love, which we do. This is an experience that he will carry with him long after you and I have left the earth. Well, don't let me think about that too soon. God bless you for that. We all could learn just from the bonding that you two have, if nothing else. That's true. Michael is my Goomba. It speaks volumes about your character that one's young adult child wishes to spend their free time with their old man. Heavy emphasis on the old, I guess. In closing, let me say that the language doesn't bother me, but I'm sure some viewers have an issue. So when I seen this, I thought of you. You should have said it when I saw this, not when I seen this, just so you know. I hope you have some crayons. Keep up the great work, you two, and hope you continue to entertain while teaching us for many years to come. This is from Mike Carter, and look at this book. This is hilarious. It says, this is about me swearing, because evidently I swear too fucking much. Kidding, of course. It says, I've tried to stop swearing, but I can't. Grab a roadmap and find a place to fuck off. My face tells more people to fuck off than my mouth does. Watch your tongue, asshole. This is just a coloring book with various Friday is my second favorite F word. Anyway, thank you, Mike. That was very sweet of you. Okay, look, this is just kind of crazy. So then I got this. This is from, and I think this is kind of fun, isn't it? A little bit. Fu Pham, executive director of Cube Together. And I think people sometimes send stuff because they want to plug their little deal, but this is a good thing. My name is Fu, and I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel. I am a substitute teacher in Southern California, and I listen to your videos on my way to and from work. I have learned a lot about law and how not to self-snitch, and always request a lawyer if I'm ever under arrest. Hopefully you're not. I'm also the executive director of Cube Together, a nonprofit organization. We teach students how to solve Rubik's Cubes, which, let me just tell you, I've never been able to do that. I'm telling you. Anyway, frustrated to beyond belief. I have donated Rubik's Cubes to you and your content genius, Michael Rivers. This is a small token of appreciation for you guys. The appreciation is me. So let's just see. So look, so we got 2 of these, and so we got one for Michael, one for me, and I am going to leave it just like this. Fucking A. I mean, how nice is this? I was out of town for a week and doing some crazy stuff, and I come back to these gifts, and this is so sweet. So I got this one, a gift for you. It just has one name, Amy. I saw these cufflinks, and they match a tie you were wearing a lot. I thought I'd send them. I really enjoy your videos. I really look forward to watching them after work. Thank you for all that you do. You know what, you guys, I'm telling you, it really touches my heart that you guys sent. I mean, please don't feel obligated, but look at these. I mean, they're just sweet. So that's just a few fan letters and a few things that they send in. And you know what? I keep everything. I don't throw anything away. You can see, like, a bunch of stuff that I keep over there. So it just touches my heart and Michael's heart. So just so you know, we really appreciate every fan that we have. And we read not all the comments, but Michael and I, we go through some of the comments because they help us figure out what we're going to do next. Because we want to be relevant, but we also want to be kind of fun. And so now, without further ado, let's get to the P. Diddler. Now, Cassandra Ventura, as you remember, she sued P. Diddler. And if you think about it, there was a law in most states, actually, where they gave you a 1-year window regardless if the statute of limitations ran out on whatever claim that you may have had for sexual assault. That can have positive and negative, intended and unintended consequences. So Miss Ventura says in a tweet after I don't know if it was a tweet or just a press release, after years in silence and darkness, I am finally ready to tell my story and to speak up on behalf of myself and for the benefit of other women who face violence and abuse in their relationships. With the expiration of New York's Adult Survivors Act fast approaching, it became clear that this was an opportunity to speak up about the trauma I've experienced and that I will be recovering from. Rodney. Was promised the moon, and now he's got a 73-page complaint against the Diddler. And, and here's the thing. He's got, I don't know if his claims are true or not, but he's got it backed up with a lot of photographs. And we'll go through he's got about 10 causes of action here and about 40 pages. So I'm not going to read it all to you, obviously. But he goes through and he details how he was sexually assaulted, groped by Cuba Gooding Jr., was sitting, on another side of a door when somebody got shot. So, I might as well get paid for that. He wasn't anywhere near it. He was on the other side of the door. Oh, he freaked out so bad he had to lie down. And, and he didn't see who shot who, except for he was told that, to lie about where it happened. But these, if I'm a Diddy handler or Diddler handler, if I'm one of the pro Diddlers, I know I'm joking about this, and I really shouldn't joke too much about it. But you know, celebrities are targets. You know, people like to charge celebrities more for things because they have more money, and they like to go after them. If you remember, do you remember the Gwyneth Paltrow case? That guy just went after her because she's a deep pocket, and there was never a claim there. And guess what? She fought him and won. Right. She fought him and won. Yeah. And not only did she win, but she won attorney's fees. You know, and and Johnny Depp fought his case. You know, and he won. He lost the one in Great Britain, but he did win the one against Amber Heard. So when you look at these things, you know, the lawyers for these guys, depending upon their skill level and their trial acumen, you would think that a diddler like this would, and I'm kidding, obviously, you would think that P. Diddy would be able to hire the best lawyers. I mean, he's a billionaire, right? So of course you're going to hire the best lawyers. But then the problem is you get handlers that are involved too. And you go to trial on something, and all this dirty laundry comes out. You got a party with underage girls. You've got drugs. You got this. You got that. And you get people who are really more afraid of the public image and afraid to expose this stuff in a court of law. It's cheaper in the broad scheme of things to settle than to have the danger of exposing some facts out there that you don't want out there. And so let's kind of go through the cause of action. So we have conduct and participate in a RICO enterprise through the pattern of racketeering activity. So we have a RICO. Remember it's Racketeering and Corrupt Organizations Act? Or Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. And that's under 18 U.S.C. 1962. It's a federal statute. So he's saying because he's going to have to prove a RICO, the members of the RICO enterprises all share common purpose to enrich themselves financially and sexually at the benefit or at the expense of producers, musicians, writers, creators, and artists. They're going to have to prove a criminal organization. And then they're going to have to say, because of that criminal organization, that's, what caused his damage. And it seems odd to put a RICO charge in here, but that's what they did. But then if you look at the second count, well, embedded in that is probably the acts in furtherance of the conspiracy, or, the overt acts in furtherance of the RICO. Defendants committed multiple acts of mail fraud and wire fraud. In other words, okay, so I'm hiring a hooker. I'm going to pay her on WhatsApp, or not WhatsApp, but like Cash App or Venmo or whatever. Second cause of action, sexual assault and sexual harassment. This is against Mr. Combs. Mr. Combs frightened and placed plaintiff in apprehension of harm when he physically and sexually assaulted him from October 22 to October 2023 in Mr. Combs' home in Miami, New York, United States Virgin Islands, and Los Angeles. Now, one of the things we haven't heard from the diddler is we haven't heard him come out and forcibly. I mean, we've had public statements and that kind of thing, but we haven't had hard, fast litigation. Mr. Combs violently gripped and palmed Mr. Jones' anus and crotch without consent. Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to work in Mr. Combs' bathroom and watch Mr. Combs as he showered. Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to work in the studio while Mr. Combs stripped naked to get his body massaged. Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to work while Mr. Combs walked around naked. I just, honestly, I'm skeptical about these claims, honestly. I'm not skeptical that the diddler is not a, kind of a wild man when it comes to either gay sex or drugs or underage women or whatever. I mean, he's in the music business. That stuff is rampant in the music business. The conduct of Mr. Combs described above was willful, wanton, and malicious. All right, the third cause of action. California's bystander negligent infliction of emotional distress. I love this one. Okay, I was standing in a street corner, and all of a sudden, I saw somebody fall down, and I was upset by it. Mr. Jones, corpse rate all year. So Mr. Jones brings his claim against Mr. Combs, Jake Combs, his son, and CRS, shooting of G. So here's what happened. Mr. Jones was about 2 feet away from G as Jake Combs and Mr. Combs shot him multiple times in the restroom of CRS. As detailed above, Mr. Jones was the only individual that aided G. Oh, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones ran to his aid, and he put his hands on the wounds, saw that he was bleeding, and he was a good Samaritan and should feel good about this. But instead, he was suffered bystander trauma. And Mr. Combs and Mr. J. Combs orchestrated a cover-up through the Fahim Muhammad and lied to LAPD and forced Mr. Jones and all the other attendees of the writers' camp to lie to the police as well. Mr. Combs and J. Combs knew that they shot G in the restroom and that G was shot as he was leaving the studio. One of the things it doesn't say in this part of the complaint is that he was on one side of the door and Mr. Combs and everybody else was on the other side of the door. So he didn't actually see that happen. But where else but California can you have bystander trauma? Fourth cause of action, sexual assault against Jane Doe. This is against Jane Doe. Jane Doe forcibly touched and attempted or threatened to touch plaintiff's intimate areas. Plaintiff with her own intimate body, but don't you rub up against me either. Jane Doe 1 used her mouth and performed oral sex on plaintiff while he was urinating in the restroom. Who the fuck does that? That's gross. Plaintiff fought her off while Mr. Combs and his associates sat outside loudly laughing. Jane Doe 1 then followed Mr. Jones outside the restroom and began undressing in front of Mr. Combs. Mr. Combs and his associates straddled Mr. Jones and attempted to forcibly have sexual intercourse with him. So let me ask you this. How many of these parties did Mr. Jones go to? And he continued to go to them. And he continued to work for Puff Daddy. Puff Daddy Diddler. And as a result of Jane Doe's conduct, plaintiff suffered and continues to suffer harm, including physical injury, severe emotional distress, humiliation, anxiety. I can see how he'd be humiliated. Anxiety and other consequential damage for which he's entitled to award for monetary damage. One of the things that the complaint does not say is how much he's looking for. But, you know, it is what it is. So that's the fourth cause. I think we have about 10 of these, so. Premises liability for the sexual assault committed by Jane Doe. In other words, it happened on your property. Therefore, I'm entitled to damages from you, P. Diddy. Premises liability for the sexual assault of Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba, here's the deal. Quit drinking. Mr. Combs had a duty. Let's see. Mr. Jones was sexually assaulted by Cuba Gooding. No, I'll show you a picture of him here in a second. On his yacht, rented by Mr. Combs in the Virgin Islands. Mr. Combs was present while Mr. Jones was being assaulted by Cuba Gooding Jr. What did he do? Mr. Jones was legally on the premises as a guest of the invitee, blah, blah, blah. Cuba Gooding. Mr. Combs had dominion and control over the actions of Cuba Gooding Jr. and failed to stop. Here's the thing. You have to prove that he was in control of Mr. Cuba Gooding Jr. and failed to act. The allegation on Cuba Gooding Jr. is that he was touching his thighs and rubbing him on his shoulders and fuck, I don't know. But then, so you not only have that, you have, you know, they're not going after Cuba Gooding Jr. He's not listed as a defendant in this. Why not? Probably because he doesn't have a pot to piss in. But Mr. Combs is somehow liable because it's foreseeable that his guest Cuba Gooding Jr. would be X, Y, or Z, and that Mr. Combs had a duty, and he breached that duty of care. So the Seventh Trafficking and Victims Protection Act. You know, this complaint reads like a prosecutor's complaint in the U.S. Attorney's Office, because now you have he sex trafficked women, put them in front of the plaintiff, and because of that, somehow Mr. Jones was damaged. And Mr. Jones is the only complainant in this complaint. There's an allegation of inadequate security, and that probably relates to damages related to any of these assaults. There's aiding and abetting and inducing sex trafficking and venture in violation of the sex traffic. So these claims of criminal violations, there has to be a tie-in to how he was harmed, meaning Mr. Jones. Third cause of action, negligent infliction of emotional distress. So the rest of the claims are all kind of negligent or intentional infliction of emotional distress. So what you really have here, and there's other allegations of grooming and some other, I'm not. How old is this guy? Mr. Jones has a mountain to climb here. Honestly, Mr. Jones has a mountain to climb here. He is responsible for every allegation that's in here. But we're going to thumb through some of these pictures here in a second. But if you look at this, honestly, I think he's going to be able to corroborate a lot of what he's saying in here. Now, whether some of this is consensual is one thing. Whether it was, exploiting him based on employment could be another thing. And so you're going to have a lot of dirt come out of this. And this is, how much is it going to take to get him to go away? That's really what his lawyers are saying at this point, I would think. Because, Pete Diddler has a lot of money. And I don't know that he's, irrelevant, but I don't know that he's super relevant. You've got a guy who's, he owns a record company, he owns clothing labels, he owns liquor, he owns, a lot of different businesses. But just like Kanye, when he makes comments about the Jews, and all of a sudden Adidas says, well, we're done with you, you could get a similar blowback because eventually a critical mass somehow takes hold. And, that's why I think it's really important for him to defend some of this stuff. However, we don't know what he settled with Miss Ventura for. And we don't know, what the other ones are settling for. But if he doesn't do something soon, they're just going to come out of the woodwork because it's difficult to say, what the right thing to do for Diddy is. This is just a civil case. And what is a civil case? The standard of proof in a civil case is just the preponderance of the evidence. That means slightly more true than not true. It's not like a criminal case where it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Not up to a reasonable doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt. So you're going to see, hopefully some litigation on this. But it's in federal court, so you're not going to see any cameras in this courtroom. It won't be like Johnny Depp. It won't be that sensational. But we will, see filings, and we'll see interrogatories. We'll see all kinds of other stuff, unless they settle it early. There's really one reason to file this, and that's to get the ball rolling with discovery. You get a judge assigned, you get a trial date, and you figure out exactly when we're going to litigate this case. So that's our little reaction to the P. Diddler. And I just don't know why people have to be so crazy. It's like the more money you have, the more trouble you can get in. And a bigger target you become, honestly. So we'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, accompanied by Michael Genius, your content genius, and we will be getting more episodes to you, and we'll see you next time in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon, and we'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God.